Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us here on our YouTube channel for episode number 819. Well, hey, today we are heading back out to Illinois, and we're going to be speaking with a state proficiency winner, and we're going to be talking all about value adding to a strawberry patch, which is really, really cool, as well as a very unique and very interesting agricultural education internship that was able to be completed and get paid for in high school. Really interesting. We'll be talking with Hannah Tappendorf, coming to us now from Lakeland Community College, and we're going to get that started for you right now. Joining me today is Hannah Tappendorf, and she is coming to us from Lakeland Community College in Illinois, where she is studying and preparing to transfer to the University of Illinois for a degree in ag education. And she is a former section secretary there in the state of Illinois, as well as her chapter's president at Altamont High School. So, Hannah, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, you bet. I'm very happy to speak with you, and I appreciate you talking to me through having a cold. I think everyone's had it this year, and I guess it's your turn right now, huh?
Yes, I guess so. It's been going around my college, and I guess it's my turn.
It's your turn. We're actually going to be airing this episode a little bit later into the spring, so people are going to be like, "Why does she have a cold now?" But we're actually recording this in February when it's going around. Well, I tell you what, I'd love to ask you just a few questions about you, so our audience can get to know who you are before we jump in, if that's okay with you.
Sounds great.
Okay. So, how old are you now?
So I just turned 19 in December.
Okay. So is this your first year then at Lakeland Community College?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Just started my first spring semester.
Gotcha. Okay. And is it close enough to home that you can live at home and attend school there, or do you have to live on campus or in the town where it's located?
Well, the first semester, so in the fall, I lived at home. It's only about 45 minutes away from where I live.
Okay.
But this spring semester, I decided that it would be a lot easier if I moved up here. So I moved up in January, and here I am.
All right. Do they offer, is there dormitories or something like that at Lakeland, or did you have to get off-campus housing?
Well, the college itself doesn't actually have any apartments or dorms, but right next to our college, there's an apartment complex for geared toward the students.
Okay.
So that's where I live with 2 roommates.
Got it. Makes sense. Well, I did the same thing. I started off studying agriculture at a community college in California near where I had grown up, and I lived at home for the first 3 semesters, so I think that kind of helped me. I got good grades for those first 3 semesters, and then when I finally moved off to, I went to Montana State. When I finally moved to campus there, my grades really went into the tank. So luckily, I had that buffer of a good 3 semesters to start out with. Very interesting. Well, so when you're home, when you're not at school up at Lakeland, do you live on a farm, or do you live in a town, or do you live in something like in between those two?
So I grew up on a farm about 3 miles north of my hometown.
Okay. And is your hometown Altamont, or is it another town in Illinois?
It is.
It's Altamont.
I do that. That's Altamont.
Okay. So what kind of farming is your family doing there on your home place then?
So we raise crops, corn and soybeans, and also we have a small herd of cattle, about 10 cattle that we have, and we have chickens and goats.
Okay.
And in the past, we've had horses as well.
Okay. So if you were to look at the primary, I don't know, if you were to have to define your farm, would you say it's a row crop farm?
I would say diversified livestock.
Okay.
And diversified agriculture, to say.
Okay.
Yeah, because we do produce our cattle for the show and markets.
Gotcha.
But we also have a big enough row crop farm, I guess.
Okay.
I guess it's just both.
Okay. And is that, for your folks, is that what they do exclusively, or do they work off of the farm as well?
Yes, my dad's a farmer, and my mom, she helps on the farm, but she also helps run a child care service at our church in town.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Really interesting. Now, how long have you been part of the FFA?
I started in my FFA chapter as soon as you could my freshman year.
Okay.
So I've been in it for 4 years.
Okay. And I noticed you threw that in there as soon as you could, so it makes it sound like you were eager to get in. Were you eager to start and be an FFA member?
Yes, I was, definitely. Both of my parents were in FFA, as well as my older brother.
Mm-hmm.
He's 5 years older than me, so I got to see all of the things that he got to do, and I have heard of all of the things that my parents were able to do through the organization, so I was ready to jump in.
Got it. You were ready to go. Okay. Well, it must have worked out for you, because you obviously reached some heights. You were your chapter's president, and you went on to be a section officer. So, sounds to me like you got very involved.
Yes, I love to be involved, and I loved to stay busy. My agenda was always full of everything, especially in the springtime with livestock judging contests and other CDEs. I was always busy. But it was what I wanted. Yeah, it was fun.
Well, good. So, putting the officer teams aside for a second and looking at like supervised agricultural experiences, career development events, speaking events, things like that, was there one area that you stood out in, or one area that you liked the most of doing those types of events?
Well, that's a tough question. I competed in all of the career development events, or CDEs, that my school also participated in at least once. I really enjoyed livestock judging, and I also liked public speaking. I was a prepared public speaker, so I would always write my speech, and I loved finding creative and interesting topics to speak on every year.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you say a prepared public speaker, that's as opposed to what they call it, contemporaneous speaking or something like that?
Extemporaneous.
Extemporaneous.
Yes. So that's whenever you just, yes. So
yeah,
you just speak off the cuff, kind of.
Yeah, you can tell that I'm no good at that. I can't even get the word right. Oh, very good. Now, what led you to be an officer? Why did you want to do that?
Well, I always saw that my older friends were officers, and I loved being involved, as I said earlier. Mm-hmm. And so that was just a way that I could continue on, not only in my chapter, but also for my section or my area, which was comprised of 14 different schools surrounding Altamont.
Okay. So how did your responsibilities change when you went from like chapter president to section secretary and you were a section officer?
As the president, I was just in charge of, my officer team. We had a 9-man officer team with some really great kids, some of my closest friends. And I just take care, like we would all have our own duties. We put on our own livestock judging contest. We had a great banquet every year. But then at the section level, I kind of just helped run all of the different CDEs that we held in our section. I helped people register for those events. I was kind of the bridge between the chapters of our section and the section advisors. We would have a section chapter president's meeting at our when the advisors would have meetings. We would bring in all the chapter presidents from the section and kind of get bounce ideas around, so that maybe a chapter on the east side could learn something new from those members on the west side who maybe have different ideas for their FFA week and all of those events that we all have in FFA.
Got it. Okay. Well, you must have had, I know you had at least one, but maybe you had more great FFA advisors along the way. Would you mind letting us know who those folks were for you?
Yeah. So my freshman and sophomore year, my advisor was Marlene Perkins. And then my junior and my senior year, I had Stephanie Zimmer, now Stephanie Tomes.
Well, thank you very much for acknowledging those folks, Hannah. And really quick, I want to acknowledge a couple great sponsors of this show and everybody. I'm going to start off by talking about Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment. Well, I am just so glad we've got Powder River squeeze chutes and livestock panels out here on our farm. We are right in the midst of calving season right now, and it just gives me all the confidence in the world to know that if I do need to run a cow in, to help her get a calf out or to milk her out or to do something like that, that I've got really good equipment. I can get her in there. I can keep her as stress-free as possible, keep her injury-free, and everybody working around her can be safe. And I just know it's going to work. I've known about Powder River, it seems like, my whole life, and just thrilled to have them as a sponsor of the show. And we hope that you will put Powder River in your farmyard as well. Please check them out at powderriver.com and let your local farm and ranch retailer know you'd like to see that Powder River green out in their yard so you can buy the same great livestock handling equipment as well. And then, of course, I want to mention Lacrosse Footwear, everybody. lacrossefootwear.com. Just so thrilled to have them as a sponsor. As I always tell you, I will only advertise for folks that I know, use, and trust, and that is absolutely the case with Lacrosse. This is the best rubber, neoprene-based rubber boot that I was able to find after a long process of trying to find a boot that would hold up to the work we do on our farm out here in Idaho. And about a year and a half after I started using Lacrosse boots, that is when the sponsorship emerged. And I always love to talk about Lacrosse, as you know, on our FFA episodes, because Lacrosse Footwear is a proud supporter of the FFA by annually sponsoring 15 scholarships along with 100 jackets as part of the Give the Gift of Blue program. And so we hope you will reward them, pay them back for supporting our show here and supporting the FFA by slipping a pair of Lacrosse boots on your feet. You can find them at lacrossefootwear.com. All right, well, Hannah, let's talk about your supervised agricultural experience. So what has that been for you?
So I had a couple of supervised agriculture experiences, or SAEs, in my high school career. I started out with a cattle book. I had a show book and a purely market book that I used my family's cattle herd on, where I would show in the summer and log all of those entries in for that.
Okay.
And then I also had an agriculture education book that I started my sophomore year of high school, where I was a GAST intern, or a growing agriculture science teacher's intern, at one of the community colleges in Illinois. And in that book, I coached CDE teams. I worked with the classrooms. I would teach lessons. I would just help my ag teacher in all of the stuff that they would do. I would be getting the bulletin boards and the boards in our classroom ready for the seasons and all of that stuff. And then my primary book, or the one that I recently won our state proficiencies last year, was my fruit production book. And in that book, I grew strawberries. I had about an acre patch of strawberries that I grew and sold as fresh fruit, but then also turned around and put into my fruit processing book, where I would make strawberry pies. I was also given a grapevine and a cherry tree and an apple tree that I made applesauce cherry pie filling with, and grape jelly. So those were my main SAEs in high school.
Man, so this was 5 years ago, or 4.5 years ago, you started the FFA. And when did you begin? Yes. When did you begin the fruit production SAE? What year?
I started that one my freshman year of high school. Your freshman year.
So that was 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just over 5 years. Just over 5 years ago, I started this podcast, and somehow I missed the opportunity to be in Illinois and judge your SAE and eat strawberry pie. that whole time, I totally blew it.
Well, I still have a strawberry patch, so you can come by any time.
I
buy a pie.
Can't believe I blew it. Okay, really interesting stuff. So you had a strawberry patch and you were selling the fruit. Were you doing like a you pick situation, or were you picking it all and then selling it?
So I was doing all the picking along. I have 3 younger sisters who would help me as well, and my mom was instrumental. My whole family helped me plant it and get it all ready that first year. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they all helped me pick it, because it was quite a bit. We were getting pounds upon pounds a day.
Oh, wow.
So I would be lost without them.
Okay. So the family was helping you with that. But then in addition to that, you were adding value. You were making different value-added products out of the strawberries as well.
Correct.
Okay.
So my mom has always been a baker, and she's always loved canning and preserving different foods that we grow in our garden. And we had a smaller strawberry patch prior to my freshman year that we grew, and she made pies and jams and jellies and all of that from that. And so that's kind of where I was inspired. But then from there, I kind of took over that, and I started making those pies and grape jelly and cherry pie filling and applesauce because I just love fruit and I like it on all forms.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. I'm hungry right now. I'm picturing, doesn't a strawberry pie have like a shortbread crust or something like that?
I make my pie crust from just regular pie crust, but I make it with lard. It's all from scratch. Yep, yeah. All from scratch.
I don't care what it's made out of. I would not be complaining. My goodness. All right. My plan is as soon as we finish this interview, I'm having lunch. So you can probably tell what I think with, and that is my stomach at this point.
Yep, that's all right.
Very interesting. That is cool. So now you've got these other great SAEs you were doing as well. So let's break down the cattle production really quick. So did that one consist mostly of like showing at the fair and things like that, or what were you doing there?
Right. So with my shows, I had two sides basically. So I had the show side, and that was where I would pick my either my steer or my heifer or both every year, and I would just take care of them, wash them through the summer and the winter, get them ready for the shows. We go to just a couple local shows, and every once in a while we would go to the Illinois Beef Expo or the Illinois State Fair. And then for the market side, that was more in breeding. So I would help both my brother and my mom are both AI certified. So they would do most of the breeding, but I would assist them in getting all of the semen and getting all of that stuff ready, getting the cattle in the chute, blocking them off, getting them to the vet, hauling them there or calling the vets to get them out to our farm. That was pretty much all for that. Just basic care of my cattle.
Okay, interesting.
And then showing in the summer.
Got it. Okay. Now, I may want to come back to the strawberries here in a minute, but I want to ask you about the ag education, the internship. So you said that the internship was taking place at a community college?
Yeah, so it's just a community college. It's a federally funded internship, I guess, but it's through a community college in my state. Okay. And the first year that I did it through Jellies Junior College up north, and basically every Friday or Saturday I would have to send in a journal and a timesheet of all of the things that I had done that week. Okay. I was given a minimum amount of hours that I had to reach in that experience. So I had to do everything from making bulletin boards to coaching the Green Hand Quiz Bowl team in that book. And then my senior year, I was able to take Intro to Ag again as a senior, but this time as a teacher's aide, kind of. Okay. So I was more of a student teacher, and I was actively learning from my teacher as she was implementing the new CASE curriculum that she had been certified over the summer with. And I was teaching lessons and getting the hang of, coming up with creative lesson plans and instrumental ways and creative ways to teach those lessons to the students.
Okay. So if I was to understand this correctly, the internship was created and facilitated and sponsored by the community college, but you did the work at your high school.
Correct. So we had our supervisor was my ag teacher.
Okay. Now, was this a paid internship, or did you do it for college credits or something like that? How did all of that work out for you?
So the first year that I did it, because the internship is only a semester long, so the first semester that I did it through JJC, or Joliet Junior College, and that it's a paid internship, but at JJC they also offered college credit along with it. Wow! So I got an hour I think it was an hour and a half credit for an
Okay.
agriculture education class at JJC. And then the second time that I did it through the college that I'm going to now,
Uh-huh.
and that's Lakeland College. And they didn't offer college credit, but it was more of like an SOE, or a supervised occupational experience,
Okay.
that they have here. And so that was also paid, but I just didn't get a college credit for that.
Okay, so I've got to ask the obvious question here. You're at your own school. You're helping out with projects and with classes within your own FFA department. Except all your friends, all your peers are there attending school, and you're there attending school, but on top of that, you're getting paid to be there, and you're getting college credits for it. Did anybody just look at you and go, "How in the world did you figure out how to do this?"
Not quite. The first internship that I did was more during the school year, and that was a lot of fun, like being able to get paid going to school. But it was also a lot of work because I had to do a lot of things outside of the classroom. I would help students with their essays, or putting all of their entries into the system, and so that was all pretty much held after school. So I never really got to go to school and get paid to go.
Okay.
But then the second time that I did it, it was more in the summer. So it started in May, and so I was there for the last couple weeks of school, and then all of my hours were during state convention. I also went to our teacher conference, or the Illinois Association of Vocational Agriculture Teacher Conference, in June, and I got to go to that with my ag ed advisor and experience all of that.
Now, how did you find out about this internship? How did you discover it?
My ag teacher, she actually is from Northern Illinois, and she came across it in an email and thought that I would fit that pretty well. So I just had to apply.
Well, it's just a very interesting thing that you were able to do. So I want to share it with everybody else. Is this internship that you did, is it something that's facilitated nationally, or is it specific to Illinois?
I'm really not sure. I know of at least 3 community colleges in Illinois that do it, but I'm not aware of if it's done anywhere else.
Well, it might be a great model to spread outside of Illinois to other states. Is it specific to ag education?
Yes, so they want you to become they want you to be interested in ag education and pursue that in the future.
Very interesting. Okay, that's really interesting. I mean, obviously, you're going into ag ed, so you know that we need agricultural education teachers. That we tend to run into a shortage of ag education teachers. So this seems like a great way to get people interested in that career.
Yes, I 100% agree.
Okay, really cool. Okay, well, I wanted to park on that for a minute, because when you first described it, I was picturing you teaching college kids, but being a high school student, I was like, how is this going to work? But now I've got it. Now I understand. I want to go back to the strawberries just because, again, I think with my stomach. But I want to ask you about the origins of this part of your project. So what made you choose to put in a strawberry patch? How did you decide on that?
So my mom's uncle, him and his daughters, they always had a huge multi-acre strawberry patch from where they live, and they would have people come pick them. It was a you pick sort of situation. They would also pick, but I love fruit. I love eating fruit. I love everything about it. And so I just kind of wanted to take that to my area because they live about an hour away. So I felt that there was a need for that sort of market in my community. And so I just kind of moved it over here.
Okay, very
good. At a
good.
smaller scale.
Now,
yes.
How did you decide to start doing the value added?
Well, I would have so much produce that not all of it would be sold. And so after a few days of sitting there, the strawberries kind of get soft, but that's the perfect time for making pies and such, making jams and jellies and pies.
And then how are you marketing the pies, the jams, the jellies, all of that? What were you doing?
So mostly I would use social media, or we had a sign by our road that people would see as they were driving by, but mainly through social media. My mom is a big Facebooker, and so she would post it, and then I would have it on there, and then all of her friends and my friends, parents, and everybody, they would all they ate it up. Yeah.
Okay. No pun intended, right?
Literally. Right.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so what does the future of this look like for you? You've got this business going. People know about your strawberries. They know about the jams, the jellies, the pies. Is this something you're continuing?
Right. So I would love to continue this project, but right now I am in college, and whenever I transfer, I'll be about an hour and a half away from home. But since I'm really hoping my sisters will continue with this project as I have. Yep.
Very good.
So I hope they live on the legacy.
And then what about moving forward in terms of your involvement with FFA? Are you going to be seeking a state degree or trying to compete nationally with any of your books or anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. So I got my state degree my junior year of high school, and right now I'm working on applying for my American degree, actually.
Okay.
So that's pretty exciting.
That is what I meant to say, but I blew it. Okay, perfect. So you are applying for your American degree. Wonderful. And so you'll be eligible for that your sophomore year of college. Is that right?
Yes. So I'll apply this year, and then this fall, if I'm approved, then I'll be getting it. So that'll be the fall semester of my sophomore year.
Very good. I've got a funny feeling that's going to happen, Hannah. So that is fantastic.
I hope so.
Well, this has been really fascinating. You've done a lot of really awesome stuff already, and I'm excited for you to take everything you've learned and done and all of your excitement and energy and take that to whatever classroom belongs to you in the future. That is going to be great. And I want to ask your advice for other students who could be listening. When it comes to all the opportunities that are available to you in the FFA, what is your advice to them in terms of taking advantage of everything they're interested in, but not spreading themselves too thin to where they can't maybe excel in one or two of those?
There are so many opportunities in FFA that it is almost impossible to try and get into every single thing. There's something out there for everybody. Soil judging might not be your thing, but you might really like or enjoy testing meat products and seeing what types of meat are better than one other. So if you really enjoy one thing over the other, don't be afraid to try new things, but stick to your guns and make sure you learn all that you can while you're in high school and while you can be in that organization, because it absolutely will help you in the future.
Awesome. Hannah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this today. This has been great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. Really appreciate you being here. And as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.